I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV, Velocities in Music, the best kept secret in music reviews. Today we're going to review a new album from a band called Portugal the Man. It's a great band name.
Yeah.
The album is called Evil Friends. Portugal the Man is a prolific band. This is their 7th album in 7 years. They started in 2006, have released every year except 2012. And Evil Friends is actually the 3rd album Tom and I have had the chance to review on Velocities in Music's channel. In 2010 we reviewed American Ghetto. 2011 In the Mountain and the Cloud. We really liked American Ghetto. In the Mountain and the Cloud we liked, but they moved to a more anthem based. It was more of a compilation of anthems. And then now Evil Friends, they're collaborating with legendary and iconic producer Danger Mouse, who has worked with many other artists such as Beck, Gnarls Barkley, the Black Keys, etc. And on Evil Friends, I feel like he does play a big role on this. And to tell you the truth, just from all the albums of that Danger Mouse has been the producer on, that we've reviewed, I haven't been the biggest fan of his production style. I feel like it's a little manila. I mean, it's a very polished sound, but I feel like if you took every album Danger Mouse has produced, you're almost looking at just a similar sound on every single album.
It's very sterile. And the thing is, while producers certainly need to have their own touch in an album, but they need to do it according to what the damn band's strengths are.
Right.
And that's something that I found frustrating about Danger Mouse, is that I feel like I always, on everything he does, I hear too much of him and not enough of the band.
Right.
You know, you listen to producers like Nigel Godrich, who just think about all the albums he's done. If you go back and listen to him, yeah, you can kind of tell it's Nigel Godrich, but it more makes sense after the fact.
Right.
Whereas Danger Mouse, you hear his touch before you hear the band's songwriting, and it leaves a bad taste in my mouth.
And one thing he does is he often overproduces an album, much in the way that George Martin did for the Beatles, and he puts lots of extra strings, lots of extra choral backings and vocals. It just makes it kind of a bigger, poppier, brighter sound. And Danger Mouse, the way he approaches it, it generally has kind of a brand to it. It sounds the same from every album that he produces. Now, I was worried about that with Portugal the Man, because I was not a fan of the output of the Black Keys' 2011 effort, El Camino. I really felt like that album suffered because of Danger Mouse and didn't help them at all. So on this one, Portugal the Man, they just have such a bright writing style. They're able to write these really powerful anthems, and I think that part of it is the way that they write these just cool guitar choruses and structure their guitars and how they work the guitar melodies into their sound. And then also in the vocals, they just have a very aggressive, upbeat sound to the vocals. Now, I think, personally, I'm kind of amazed that I'm going to say this, that through what I've called the mouse turds, Danger Mouse's production, you're able to still hear Portugal the Man's personality, their songwriting style. You do have all this big, dressed up, almost like Great Gatsby-esque production, right? Where everything's just ritzy and covered in glam, but I don't think that really hurts the band. I think that if anything, is just looking at their really iconic sound from a different light. What was your take on that?
Yeah, I agree with all of that. You know, one band that I want to throw out there that these guys remind me a lot of is Oasis. And part of that is because I remember they tweeted like a number of years ago, and for some reason this always stuck with me, that they thought Oasis was like the greatest band of the last 20 years. And then ever since then, when I listen to their stuff, I've always put it through that filter.
You know, Oasis does write really catchy songs.
Anthemic songs where if the vocals and that attitude, that kind of cocky but also personable attitude in the vocals, if that's not the focus, then it's a catchy, kind of bluesy, classic rock style guitar line. And that is definitely the songwriting style and attitude that this band takes. It's just that they do it in a little bit more of an indie fashion. But
this has been a very underground band over
they have been.
I think pairing with Danger Mouse is a move to get them more into the limelight, which honestly I think the band deserves. Now,
they do.
And I think that they were able to find a happy medium, whereas in other times, like I said, it hasn't happened. Something that I noticed on this album in comparison to the last two we reviewed is that the drumming wasn't nearly up to the same level, and I think that's because they fired their drummer before going into the recording studio.
That'll do it. But also, I mean, that's much more of a rock band format, which, especially in The Mountain and the Cloud, that's really what the setup of that album was. Whereas this is going much more for specific arrangements, diverse instrumental palettes, things like that. It doesn't sound like a fleshed fleshed out rock band album.
And a lot of the vocal hooks on this album, I think, were exceptional. Especially in the lyrics. I felt like some of the lyrics on this album,
they go hand in hand. Really,
they do, and it just brings out the charm of every one of these songs. Now, there were some songs on this album I didn't like, and it was actually that displacement in the quality of the tracks that brought my score down a little bit. But songs like the first half of this album, I feel like is just very strong. Plastic Soldiers, Creep in a T-shirt, great track.
Yeah.
Modern Jesus, Atomic Man, track 8 Waves even gets has a little bit of a drop pre-chorus thing that they're doing. It's a little bit darker. It's just good, nicely written pop anthems. That's what these are. It's indie rock / pop anthems. And I feel like they did a really good job. Now, there were a couple tracks that I wasn't so keen on. Track 3, Evil Friends. Track 5, Hip Hop Kids. That were just a bit more basic, raw. Sounded just kind of like something you could just make in your garage that I didn't think were quite as fleshed out or polished as musical statements or ideas. And then I also kind of felt like the last few tracks on the album weren't quite as strong as the first
totally
part.
agree.
So I felt like that kind of brought it down for me. But overall, I was very pleased with this album in kind of in an unexpected way.
Yeah, I was disappointed at first just from how much I heard Danger Mouse in it. I was like, I still want more Portugal the Man than Danger Mouse.
Yeah.
But in the end, once I got used to it, I still think that there's a decent balance there. And I ended up liking this album a little bit more than I thought I would also.
Right, so what would you give it?
I think I'm going to give this a 73.
Okay, I'm a little higher than you. I think I ended up loving some of these tracks a lot. I really did think that some of these tracks were just really awesome tracks that I'm going to come back to for the rest of the year, and some of them I probably won't listen to again, which unfortunately is I think a product of Danger Mouse. But in the future, you know, if he doesn't collaborate with them in the future, you know, I think you'll see that kind of return to normal, hopefully with a little bit more press. I'm going 76 on this one.
All right.
Really interested in what you guys thought of Evil Friends, so if you could please leave us a comment at www.velocitiesandmusic.com or youtube.com/velocitiesandmusic. I would love, and Tom I'm sure would also love, to have a conversation with you guys about Portugal the Man, Danger Mouse, how this album turned out. Also, follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, and let us know what albums from 2013 you've been into lately and would like to see Tom and I review. I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV, moving music critique forward.